Hi, Babyccinos! How are you? We hope you're well. Oh, we've done so much since last week. Actually, that's not true. We're recording this straight after the live Babyccinos that was on last Monday because I won't be around for work on Monday. And we thought we didn't want to miss out on Babyccinos. So we're going to do a 2 Babyccinos day in this household, aren't we? We're going to do another episode now for you. And this episode for this week, we're going to look at a character from the New Testament. So do you remember we've been looking at Abraham's family? They've all been in the Old Testament. This week we thought we would look at a New Testament character, a really important guy. And by the end of the story, he's called Paul, but he starts off being called Saul. Shall we hear the story about him, Miriam?
Yeah.
Miriam's chosen where we're getting our story from today, and it's from this. Are you reaching for that drink?
Yeah.
It's from this. This is what you chose, isn't it? Both of our children have got this book, and if you haven't got it, the Jesus Storybook Bible is absolutely lovely for children. Can you wait? And I'm going to read to you a story called A New Way to See. So this is the Jesus Storybook Bible. It's written by Sally Lloyd-Jones, and it's illustrated by somebody called Jago. Are you ready to listen to this story? Yeah. Here we go. You can see the pictures, can't you?
I can't.
Of all the people who kept the rules, Saul was the best. I'm good at being good, he'd tell you. He was very proud and very good, but he wasn't very nice. Saul hated anyone who loved Jesus. Oh no, that's like us. We love Jesus.
Yes.
He travelled around looking for them. He wanted to catch them and put them in prison. He wanted everyone to forget about Jesus. We don't want to do that, do we?
No.
He didn't believe that Jesus was the rescuer. And he didn't believe Jesus was alive either. We do, don't we? You see, Saul had never met Jesus. So one day, Jesus met Saul. Saul was on his way to a place called Damascus when suddenly a dazzling light flashed like lightning. It was brighter than the sun. It was too bright. Saul shielded his eyes and fell to the ground. He heard a loud voice. It was too loud. It gave Saul a headache. Saul, Saul, said the loud voice. Why are you fighting me? Lord, Saul answered. Who are you? I am Jesus, said the voice. When you hurt my friends, you are hurting me too. Saul's whole body trembled. Can you tremble? I'm shaking a bit like this. Oh, you can't? Okay. Go to the city, Jesus said. I'll tell you what to do. When Saul opened his eyes, he couldn't see. His helpers had to hold his hand and lead him like a little child. Saul was blind for 3 whole days, and yet it was as if he was seeing for the very first time. Meanwhile, there was a man called Ananias who loved Jesus. Jesus came to him in a dream. Go to Saul and pray for him, and I will make him see again. Ananias knew all about Saul and how he hated Jesus' followers. Lord, he has come to hurt us. But Jesus told Ananias, Saul is the one I've chosen to tell the world who I am. So Ananias went to Saul. Brother Saul, Ananias said, it was Jesus you met on the road. And Ananias prayed for Saul. Suddenly, Saul could see again, but he saw everything differently. He wasn't mean anymore. He even changed his name from Saul to Paul, which means small and humble, the very opposite of proud. And do you know what Ananias' name means? The Lord is full of grace. Grace is just another word for gift, which is funny, because that's just what Paul's message was about from then on. It's not about keeping rules, Paul told people. You don't have to be good at being good for God to love you. You just have to believe what Jesus has done and follow him. Because it's not about trying, it's about trusting. It's not about rules, it's about grace. God's free gift that cost him everything. What had happened to Paul? He met Jesus. Next week, we're going to hear even more about what Paul gets up to. But for today, we're going to think about this amazing thing that happened when he was on the road to that place called Damascus, where that amazing light appeared and Jesus spoke. Should we do some crafts and stuff?
Mommy, I just think Jesus died.
Oh, we could read that story again later, couldn't we? You know these stories quite well now, I think.
No, this one.
Okay.
That
Shall
one
we
got Jesus in it.
Shall we do some crafts?
Stop.
Let's do some crafts. Our first craft is all about the very, very bright light that happened on the road to Damascus. So you're going to need some paper, you're going to need some bits of card, you're going to need some scissors and glue, and eventually you're going to need a candle. And it's probably best if it's one of the candles that's battery powered rather than one of the ones that you light. So let's get onto it while we make some luminaries. Ready? So our luminary craft is all about making something that changes when you shine light into it or through it. So what we're going to do is we're going to have some white paper first. Now, what you're going to need to do eventually is it's going to fold into a triangle like that, a tall triangle. So just bear that in mind as you're making it. It might be worth just folding your paper into thirds first. So should we start with that, Mim? Mims is looking for another another story in the Bible that you want to read, aren't you? Can you cut some little pieces of card for me while I do this?
Oh, yes.
So what we want is just little chunks of card. So we're going to fold some paper into thirds. I've just realised that this is scrap paper because I've got tiny lines of printing on, but it won't matter because we can cover that. So I'm going to fold my paper into thirds or thereabouts. In fact, if you end up with a little bit of a flap, that's a good thing. Yeah, that's your story about Jesus. Can you cut this card for me now? Should we show everyone? Look at the beautiful pictures in this book. We're going to read some more of that later, maybe, Lynn. For now, can you cut some different shapes out of card?
Oh, yeah.
So I've just folded this paper into thirds, okay? And if you've got a little bit of a flap left, it's worth folding that too, because that's what we can use to join it at the end. So I'm going to... Well done, they're the same, blue scissors and blue card. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open up our paper that we've folded. There's my little flap at the end, which will be really useful. I'm going to just fold it back on itself as well to make it super flappy. That's going to be really useful at the end to help us to stick that together, because we want it to be able to stay sort of fairly solid like that. Once we've opened that up, the next thing to do is to cut shapes of card and glue them on, and it can be absolutely anything. And you can use colourful card, you can use black card, it really doesn't matter. What we're going to do is just going to cut shapes. We're just using scraps of card that we've kept from other activities. I might do some triangles, because what we're going to do, are you going to put some glue on those? Are you going to stick these bits on? Yeah. It doesn't really matter what the shapes are, what the card looks like, except that when you've not got the candle inside it, if you want it to look pretty, then use some pretty shapes and pretty card. It's up to you, really, isn't it? So I keep thinking about that light that happened on that road to Damascus. That's lovely, Mim.
That's the road.
That's the road. I keep thinking about that light and the fact that Jesus spoke to Saul through this light. And it was just the most amazing thing. I can't even imagine it. It's so bright that it was blinding. Can I stick some of my triangles on? Is that okay? And everything changed, didn't it? You know, when that light came into Saul's life, everything changed straight away. Immediately he couldn't see, but like the story said, it's like he could see in a new way. That's it. Should we glue that on somewhere? Now, what is important is that you don't stick so much card on here that there are no gaps. You really need the gaps because that's where the light's going to come through. So, oh, so gluey. I don't think we got properly unglued from Babyccinos, the first one we've done today. What do you think?
Gluey.
Bit gluey. Bit gluey. We'll need a really good wash. I don't think we got all the glue off from then. That's it.
Here's the gap.
That's lovely.
Right.
Just make sure that there's plenty of gaps, like I said. Do you remember? Like this, Mim. So there's plenty of gaps between the shapes. Yeah. And you could make this as complicated as you like. Some of you will be really good at cutting very intricate shapes out, and that would be great. You could do that, that would be lovely. We're just going to go with what we can do. We're going to stick little bits on.
Big bits on. Not really.
Not really.
No, not big ones. Not big.
Not very big ones, because then we won't be able to see the light through it, will we? What we want to do is see how, when we shine a light through this, it changes how it looks, and we can see the light coming through, which will remind us of how, when the light came into Saul's life, he was changed by that. You ready? Have you gone? Oh, just careful, that's quite a lot of glue. Woo, let me catch some of it. Well done. I'm just going to keep sticking my little triangles on. Yeah, nice. We're nearly there with this, do you think?
Can you get up?
Come on then, ready? Oh, now I'm gluey. Oh. Are you going to stick that one up? Where's it going to go? That's it. Oh, you're doing a great job. That's looking absolutely lovely, Marion. Of course, you could do this on the outside of a glass jar as well. You could stick cards on the outside. I really like how it looks through the paper. I think it's quite nice. What's so much?
This.
Don't worry, I think you're doing really well. There's some triangles of mine that you can use as well. There was this immediate change with Saul, wasn't there? This light shone, and it was so bright that it took his sight away. Immediately, his life was changed, and I think that's quite like what it's like with Jesus. Sometimes for some of us, it's a bit of a slower change, but it does change our lives. Jesus is that light that comes into our lives and helps us to see in a different way. So even though Saul couldn't see, even though he was blinded by the light, it helped him to see the world in a whole different way. And this luminary is what they're called, these little lanterns. Once you put them over the light, a battery-powered tea light would be perfect for this. If you're using a tea light, just be really careful and don't leave it lit while you're not in the room. Should we put one more on that? You're super gluey again.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness me. When you just be really careful if you're using a real candle. Don't leave it on its own, and maybe don't leave it lit for very long inside. But you'll see that the light just shines through the paper, but obviously it doesn't shine through the card, and it looks amazing. Should we just stick one more shape on, and then we can show people
Lots of them.
Whoa, lots of them.
Yeah.
Are you going to make it really, really, really decorated? In a minute, what we need to do is we need to glue the flap so that it's going to stand up, don't we? Are you my guy?
Yeah.
Come on then. Where's that one going to go? Somewhere on here?
On the road.
Somewhere on that one?
On the road.
On here? Yeah, okay. So that's like your road. Oh, that's interesting, Miriam. So Miriam's had a really nice idea that she's going to make the road on that middle panel. And actually, that's a good idea. You could tell bits of the story, couldn't you, around it? Can you put some glue on this flap now then? Then we need to put this glue, all the way down this flap, but don't go crazy with it. You could use sellotape, don't forget. There we go. So all the way along the flap. Well done. That's really neat gluing. All the way up to the top. And then all the way down this way. Well done. And that is going to help this to stand. Well done. You've done a great job of that. So we'll put it together. We'll close the flap over it. And we'll give it a bit of a pinch just to make sure it's going to glue really well. And there's our little luminary lantern that's going to remind us about how the light changes things. Oh dear, I've slipped a bit there, look.
Oh, don't go big crazy.
Well, I have gone a bit crazy. There's our little lantern that can go over a tea light. Probably a battery powered one is best. But if you're being really careful, you could use a real candle that's in a jar maybe inside. And we'll see how the light shines through it and changes how it looks, which is what happened to Paul. The light shone and it changed his life. And that's how Jesus can be for us too. So there's that first craft, our little lantern. Now, the next craft we're going to do is all about how Saul couldn't see and then he could see. So we're going to make some Saul Specs. So our next craft is Saul Specs. We're going to make some specs that can go from us being able to see to not being able to see to being able to see again. Okay. So I have a very clever husband who can make this sort of thing. I can't draw this, but if I hold that up, you get the idea. We want you to draw on some card some glasses shapes. So there's the middle bit where you've got the lenses and then some arms. And we're going to cut all of these out and we're going to make some pairs of glasses. Right, Mim, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Good. So I'm going to start with the one that...
Mummy.
Yeah. Well, can you cut on here? Because we're going to need... If you two different colours of card would be a really good idea for this, because what we're going to do... What we're going to do is we're going to add flaps, you see. So if they were in different colours, I think that would probably make them stick out best. So we've got... These are going to fit you, I hope. Let's have a look. Yay!
Not really, because they're the paper glasses.
Well, that's what we're making. We're making some little glasses out of card. So I'm going to cut out the arms next. I mean, if you wanted to cheat, if you've got some spare cheap sunglasses or something like that, you could just do the flaps. Miriam, that's a bit too, it's a bit too loud and squeaky for everybody now. So I'm just going to cut out the arms for the glasses. And what we're going to do is we'll just start assembling the glasses first, and then we'll add the flaps. Now there's some that are my size as well, and I might make those in a minute, but we'll focus on Miriam's. This is a bit definitely for grown-ups, because I'm going to cut out the lenses here. What you need to do is jab with the scissors, so this one's definitely for grown-ups. Yeah.
Why?
Because I have to just jab through with the scissors, which is not very safe. You could use a hole punch if you've got one on you. And actually a hole punch would be a good idea for next craft. So we're just going to cut out where the lenses would be on the glasses, leaving all of the frames.
Why do you poke through it, Mummy?
Just so that I can cut it out, Mim. You could do this with a craft knife instead, which would be a little bit more accurate. I tend not to want to get the craft knives out and things like that with Mimsy. So then, can you draw around that, Mim? Oh, where's pencils and things gone?
Oh, it's down on the floor.
Can you draw around that?
It's
So
down on the floor,
then,
Mummy.
if you draw around the lens onto the different coloured card, you know the sort of size that you're going to need for the flaps that we're going to make. Obviously, you're going to need to make it bigger, but if you draw around the lenses first, then you'll have a bit of an idea, won't you? Here we go. Just going to cut these lenses out. Now, I think the next thing I'm going to do, if I'm allowed to, Miriam, that was a bit loud, is make and fix the little flaps.
Oh, there's a light on top. There's a light on top.
Okay. Can I have a little bit of this red?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I borrow that pencil? So something that's around that sort of size, that's good.
My pencil?
Now, the other thing is, you're probably gonna need one or two attempts to get to the flaps just right, because they're gonna need to cover the whole of the lenses, but they're also gonna need to cover the top part of the frames, okay? Because that's where we're gonna attach the flap. So they're gonna need to be bigger than that. So hopefully you can see this. That's still gonna cover where the lens would be, but it's going to need to be attached on the top, so that's why it needs to be bigger. Okay, so I'm going to make a similar size flap for the other side. Are you getting tired on me again?
No.
Yeah. I think I need a bigger bit of card. Can I borrow a bigger bit of card?
No.
Thanks. Super tired in this household today, huh?
It's me.
It's just you, is it? Are you going to need a rest after this?
No.
Yeah. Are you going to try these glasses on for me in a minute?
Yes.
That would be nice.
Glasses.
So
I need grown up glasses.
these are for you. Look at how cool they're going to be. Oh yes. Now we're going to add these little flaps on. Should we just double check that they're going to fit nicely? Yeah. Now look, with the flaps, what we're going to do is we're going to use some sellotape to fix them on. But we need to be quite careful with how we fix them. They look so cool, don't they? Yeah. So let me put the first lens on, and I'm going to try and show you how we do this. So
Orange.
I love orange. It's such a happy kind of colour. So the flap's going to look like this, and it's going to lift up. But we don't want to fold the card. What we want to do is make sure that the front of what here is the red card. So the front of the flap is sellotaped to the back of the frame, but that it's definitely not sellotaped to the front of the frame, because then the sellotape will do all the work for us. Mim, I need you to just chop the end of my sellotape off. I've made it a bit too big. This is the other thing. Can you just chop there?
Hey.
This is the other thing. Yeah, that's great. That you need to be aware of. Don't make the sellotape too long because otherwise it's going to stick it to the front of the lens.
Mommy,
so we just need some sellotape. What are you going to do with the sellotape? So it needs to not go beyond the end of the flap. So you can see there, it's just in the middle of it. And then fold it over very carefully so that it's sticking to the back of the frame. But then you're going to need to lift that flap and trim the excess sellotape that's there inside. Can you see there's some inside the lens? Problem is if it stays inside the lens, it's definitely going to stick the flap down. So that's one of the flap. Oh, this is a bit tricky, this bit. So just make sure that that sellotape only covers the back. So can you see I've got one flap here. There we go. Oop, and it goes down.
It's a bit noisy.
Bit noisy. There we go.
Yeah,
It's down
noisy.
and then it's up. I just had to put a little bit of a crease in that sellotape because otherwise it's got a tendency to flap up like that. That's okay. You just put a little crease in the top. It should work. I need another bit of stuff. What are you doing?
Here you go.
Thanks. Thank you so much. What are you taping?
This.
Okay. What are you sellotaping? Not sure yet, huh? Just know that you want to do sellotape. Do you know, I think people only really watch to see what antics you're going to get up to. Pretty sure that's what's happening here, huh? I think people love to see what you get up to because you're a monkey. Here we go. So again, I'm just going to trim the sellotape that's ended up on the inside of the lens hole because it's going to stop that flap from opening if it's there. It's going to stick it down. This is a bit tricky doing this bit. Woo! Got it now though. So, got our flaps. And then, woo!
That's mine.
And we just need to finish it off with some arms, don't we? So that the glasses will stay on. So, you should have two arms for your specs. Oh, I think those are the wrong way around. Yeah. No? Oh, I don't know. Oh no, one's one way and one's the other. That's fine. And I'm going to just put now, I'm going to put the ends of the arms together. And then at the same point, I'm just going to make a little flap so that I know where to.
Sorry.
Did you just break wind? You cheeky monkey, we can't do that on this video. We're going to just sellotape the arms of the glasses on, and then hopefully they should work. I mean, you could write some things on the flaps, you could decorate them how you want. You could decorate them, actually, interestingly, in the Bible, in a slightly different version to the one that we've read today, we hear that when Ananias helps Saul to see again, it's like fish scales were dropping from his eyes. It sounds like something covered Saul's eyes when he was blinded. So you could decorate them a little bit like fish scales, couldn't you? That'd be quite cool. I have got some long, thin strips of sellotape now. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line up the arms with the edge of the frames where I've made a little fold, and I'm going to sellotape them together.
I want this to take around.
What are you making?
I don't know.
Oh, that's all right. Something different to what I'm making. That's okay. You can make what you like, can't you? Can you try these on for me in a bit though, so everyone can see how cool you look in your
Can
Saul
I have
specs?
some more sellotape? It has to stick like.
Look at that. Saul specs. Are you ready to put these on? So we've got two little arms to go behind your ear. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to poke you in the eye. Two little arms to hold them on. And then we've got flaps, so she can see. Can't see. And then Ananias comes and up. She can see again. Those are our little Saul specs. Do you love them? I absolutely love them. Enjoy making your Saul specs. I can't wait to see pictures of you all. Let's see. Yeah, you can see again. So that's like after Saul's been blinded on the road, and then he goes to Damascus where Ananias finds him, tells him what's happened, and he can see again. That might be one of my favourite crafts ever. That is our Saul specs. We've got one more craft for you now. We're going to make a little bit of a book. So you need some card and some paper and some pens. You could do this with using string and a hole punch I've suggested on the title page. But you could do it with sellotape as well. We're going to make a little book to remind us about the story of Saul on the road to Damascus. So let's make our little books. So we're going to make our little books, and I've got some card, which is going to be the outside of the book, and I've got some paper, which is going to be the inside of the book. Now, I know that some of you who joined us for Holy Week really enjoyed making the book, and I think sometimes it's quite nice to have the whole story in front of you so that you can remember it. So that's what we're going to do. So first of all, we've got our card outside. So I'm just going to fold that in half.
So fold this.
I mean, if you want a different shaped book, you can just cut it, can't you? And you can fix all the pages together. As long as everything fits in the right way, you should be okay. But then because I've just had to fold an A4 piece of card, I know that I only need to do the same with my A4 pieces of paper to make sure that it all fits together well. Okay, so I've got the outside of my book, and I've got some pages from my book, and I'm going to do the story of Saul. Now, every person here watching, I'm sure by now you know, I cannot draw. So mine is going to be a very, very, very simple set of drawings. Yours can be a little bit more exciting if you like. Now, I'm going to open up my tub of pens. And the first page...
Have to go to mine, Mummy.
Yeah, the first page I'm going to draw about is going to be about the fact that Saul was a grumpy man. He was angry with the people who love Jesus. So I'm going to draw just a face that's quite a grumpy one. Okay, so I'm going to draw a round face. I'm going to draw some very cross eyebrows, some little eyes, and I'm going to draw a frowny little mouth. Now, because he's angry, I'm going to use red, which can be quite an angry colour. I'm just going to sort of go around the outside and decorate my page like that. Now, you could add some writing to each of your pages to remind you a bit more about the story, or if your drawings are as difficult to understand as mine, you could add some words to help you remember what your drawing was all about. So I might put here, Saul was angry, he was cross with the people who followed Jesus. Something like that. It wouldn't need to be any more than that, would it? Just something like that. So here we go. Saul was angry. I'm going to turn over my page. Now, because the pen's gone through a little bit, what I'm going to do is just probably, I'm not going to use that side of the page, I'm going to use this next one. But that's okay, because you could add other things in, couldn't you? So my next page is going to be about Saul walking on the road to Damascus. So in fact, I might use a brown for the road. I'm just going to make my road curl all the way up my paper, and then sort of put a few kind of markings in. It makes it look a little bit like, I guess, sort of dusty, cobbly kind of road is what we're looking at. What do you think, then?
That's Alice. It is a hitter to hit. Got it.
I don't want to make hitters. That's a terrible idea.
I'm just making hitter. Want to hit garlic.
Hit the Daleks. That's what he's talking about. So there's the road to Damascus. I'm going to put a little bit of a road sign on. We'll use a little green. We're going to put a little road sign on. And into that, I'm just going to write the word Damascus. Okay, so Saul was very angry. He was on the road to Damascus.
Mummy.
And then the next bit is that shining, shining light and the big loud voice saying Saul. Now, shining light I think means yellow and orange. So I'm going to do, and it was like lightning bright, wasn't it? So you could even think about making a slightly darker scene here and put some sort of lightning bolts here. I'm going to do a sort of big flash of heaven. I'm going to do a little bit of orange first. And then I'm going to go around that in some yellow. Make sure it's sort of, I've ended up using sort of fiery colours, I guess, and I don't want it to look too fiery, so I'm going to try and make it as pointy as I can so it doesn't look like flames. And so there was this bright, 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 bright light. Do you remember in the story that we read? It was too bright, it was too bright. And then there was this voice. So I'm going to draw a speech bubble. That came from heaven too. And there was this loud voice that was too loud. And it said in very, very loud voice, Saul, Saul. So I'm going to draw that little speech bubble.
Mummy?
How do you cut it?
Yeah.
With the sellotape that you've been using. You've been doing it. So there we go. Well, I'm going to just colour that in. So I've got a very, very blinding light. And then I've got this speech bubble from heaven that's saying, Saul, Saul, why are you fighting me? 'Cause every time that Saul put somebody in prison who didn't like, who loved Jesus, it hurt Jesus, it hurt God. So God was speaking from heaven saying, hey, what are you doing? It's not nice. And Saul wasn't trying to be horrible. He just thought he had it right. And what he realised on the road is that he didn't have it right. He was thinking you had to follow God in the wrong sort of way. So there's this big flash of light. Saul, Saul! And Saul fell down to the ground. This is a challenge for me now. Okay, so I'm going to have up here, I'm going to have Saul falling down to the ground. He's sort of kneeling there. Huh?
Let's let us read it. The letters to read it.
Oh, well, it's a picture book, this one. So he's on the road.
No, Mummy, it's not a picture book. It's just a reading book.
Well, it could be either, couldn't it? I could add some more words. So I've got him falling to the floor on the road. And then we're going to have so there he is, he's fallen to the road. And then I'm going to have him blind at the bottom, okay? So again, I'm going to use a big black pen for making a face.
Where's Jesus?
Jesus is the voice from heaven now, isn't he? Because he's gone back to heaven to be in heaven. So I'm going to have some sort of sad and surprised little eyebrows. I'm going to have a shocked little mouth. And then I'm going to have some eyes which can't see anymore. So there's my little blinded Saul. Okay, you can add hair. That's just me. So there we go. We've got him on the road to Damascus, and now he's blinded by this light. So what he needs is a friend to look after him. Right, come on. We're going to have a Saul. And we're going to have an Ananias.
That's what we just need.
And that's just what we need. I'm going to give them some nice clothes. Some cloaks. It wasn't really trousers then, it was sort of more like cloaks and stuff. So I'm going to do some nice stripy clothes for them to wear. And he needs this friend, doesn't he? So Saul is there wearing some nice red and brown stripy clothes, got to say, he's looking pretty stylish. And then we've got Ananias. Remember what Ananias' name means? It means full of grace.
I don't know Ananias.
It's a very difficult name to say, isn't it? Ananias.
I don't know not Ananias.
Ananias.
I don't know that.
He's going to have some nice green and orange clothes. Do you know, everybody at home is going to draw this much better than Mummy, you know that, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tricked you. I tricked you. We always trick you.
You trick me?
I trick Babyccinos.
Into what?
Into
Right, so I've got a nice little happy Ananias, and we've still got a blinded Saul who doesn't really know what he's up to, but he's got a friend now who's met him in Damascus. And of course we know that then he could see again. So we're going to do a really nice big happy Saul at the end. Okay, but he's not called Saul anymore, is he? What was his name at the end, Miriam? Can you remember? It sounds like Saul, but it begins with a P. He became Paul. And he's seen the whole world in a different way. He understands God so much better now. He knows God so much better now. He understands what it's all about. He understands that it's not about following rules. It's about loving Jesus. It's about loving God. And yeah, it's important that we follow some rules, but actually the most important thing is trusting that God is with us all the time and still loves us even when we get things wrong. So I'm finishing my book with a very happy Paul. I'm going to put that inside. Now you can hole punch this, you can sellotape it, whatever you fancy. In fact, what I'm going to do, we've still got some gift ribbon left over from last week's. You could use string. Yeah, that's a good idea. Can you make one now? And I'm just going to put that through the middle of the central pages. I'm going to tie this quite tight and put a bow. Can you look after mine for me? You still might want to just sellotape these in place just to make sure that they're not going to go anywhere. But here we go.
Mummy, where's my glasses?
Your glasses are here. Now, it looks a bit boring on the front, so you might want to decorate it. I like the old storybook style. You know, like you see on some old Disney films, where you sort of have really beautiful kind of flowers coming around, a bit like this. You know, sort of nice swirly bits. And I'm going to just decorate the front of the book really nicely as I can. And again, you guys with more talent, you should make this look more beautiful than I can. So I'm started off with some nice swirly bits, and I'm going to just write on here.
I'm going to put my glasses on.
The story of Saul, and in brackets, who became Paul.
Paul, it's Paul.
It's Saul, but he becomes Paul. Do you remember the story? There's something a bit like that. And here's my story. So we've got a very cross, angry sort of Saul. He goes around punishing people who love Jesus. And he heads on the road to Damascus. And when he's on the road to Damascus, there's this bright flash of light and a voice from heaven calling his name, which is Jesus. He falls down onto the road, and suddenly he realises he can't see anything after this conversation with Jesus. So Ananias, oh careful, I'm just showing people. Ananias comes and looks after him. He helps Saul to see again, and then a super happy Paul. There we go. Those are our crafts for today. I think it might be time to sing a song. Shall we sing He's Got the Whole World in His Hands? No. I thought we could sing When We're Happy or We're Angry, We're in His Hands.
No.
Okay, I'll just sing it, shall I? You read the book. Well, let's sing He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. And don't forget to join us next week to hear more about Paul's journeys from this point. He's got the whole world in his hands then. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 If I'm happy or I'm angry, these are little angry eyebrows. So if I'm happy or I'm angry, I'm in his hands. If I'm happy or I'm angry, I'm in his hands. If I'm happy or I'm angry, I'm in his hands. If I'm happy or I'm angry, I'm in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got everybody here. He's got everybody here in his hands. He's got everybody here in his hands. He's got everybody here in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. It's a good job that God's hands aren't quite as gluey as Miriam's, because she's been a little bit distracted by that. But we have had a great time again today. We hope that we'll see you again next week for some more, hearing more about Paul's story, which gets a little bit exciting. So take care till then. Bye, Babyccinos. Are you going to say bye?
Bye.
Bye, Babyccinos.